My boyfriend's family whispered in Mandarin around me. They should have asked where I grew up. I was standing in my boyfriend Derek's childhood kitchen when his grandmother switched languages mid-sentence. The kettle behind me started whistling sharp and high. His mother leaned against the counter and crossed her arms over her chest. His grandmother pointed directly at my face and called me a ghost girl with dead eyes. My fingers tightened around the teacup Derek had just handed me. His aunt walked in from the living room and dropped a stack of photo albums on the table with a heavy thud. She looked me up and down and muttered that Western women age like milk left in the sun. I smiled politely and pretended to admire the family photos on the refrigerator. What they didn't know was that I spent ages 6 through 17 in Shanghai with my diplomat mother. I attended Chinese school and spoke Mandarin before I ever kissed a boy. I had a Shanghainese accent that would make their heads spin, but my red hair and freckles told a different story to anyone who looked at me. Derek excused himself to help his father with something in the garage, and the screen door slammed behind him. His mother immediately pulled out her phone and showed his grandmother a photo of some woman I didn't recognize. She whispered that this was the girl Derek should have married instead. His grandmother nodded and tapped the screen with her wrinkled finger. The aunt grabbed a plate of dumplings and set them in front of me with a fake smile. She told the others in Mandarin that I probably couldn't even use chopsticks properly. I picked up the chopsticks and ate 3 dumplings in rapid succession without dropping a grain of rice. His mother's eye twitched slightly, but she kept talking. She said Derek's last girlfriend was prettier and came from a good family. The grandmother shuffled to the window and watched Derek in the driveway. She said loud enough for everyone to hear that this white girl would ruin their family line. I felt my neck flush hot beneath my collar, but I kept my expression completely neutral. I convinced myself they were just traditional and protective. Maybe they acted this way with every girlfriend at first. I watched his mother arrange flowers in a vase and told myself she would warm up eventually. His grandmother handed me a bowl of soup and I thanked her in English with my best grateful smile. She patted my hand gently and seemed almost kind for a moment. Then she turned to his aunt and said the soup was watered down because foreigners had weak stomachs. I almost choked on my spoonful but recovered quickly. Derek returned from the garage with grease on his hands and kissed my forehead. His mother smiled at us and said in English that we looked lovely together. Then she muttered in Mandarin that he was wasting his prime years on a temporary amusement. I set my soup bowl down carefully so my shaking hands wouldn't give me away. His aunt pulled out her phone and started texting someone rapidly. I caught the name on her screen and my blood went cold. The name was Maylin, and the message said he'll come around eventually, just wait. I excused myself to the bathroom and locked the door behind me with trembling fingers. My reflection stared back at me pale and wide-eyed in the mirror. I pressed my ear against the door and heard his mother speaking urgently. She said Maylin's family owned property and this foreigner had nothing. His grandmother responded that they should invite Maylin to the Moon Festival next month. Derek's voice cut through and I heard him ask what they were discussing. His mother laughed lightly and said, just planning the menu, darling. The aunt added in Mandarin that Maylin would look perfect standing next to him in photos. I gripped the sink edge so hard my knuckles turned white. Derek had never mentioned anyone named Maylin in 18 months of dating. I flushed the toilet to cover my footsteps and pressed my ear back against the wood. His grandmother was describing Maylin's childbearing hips when I heard another car pull into the driveway. The front door opened and a woman's voice called out a greeting in perfect Mandarin. I cracked the bathroom door and saw her standing in the hallway holding a gift bag. His mother rushed to embrace her like a long-lost daughter. Derek stood frozen in the kitchen doorway with his mouth hanging open. His aunt grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the stranger with an encouraging push. The grandmother clapped her hands together and announced that the family was finally complete. I stepped out of the bathroom and everyone went silent at once. Maylin looked at me with confusion and asked his mother who I was. His mother stuttered something about a colleague of Derek's. Derek's face turned the color of old ash. I walked straight past all of them and grabbed my purse from the kitchen counter. I stopped at the front door and turned to face the entire family gathered in the hallway. I opened my mouth and spoke in flawless Mandarin without a single hesitation. I told his grandmother that my eyes were alive enough to see everything. I told his mother that I understood every insult since the moment I arrived. I told his aunt that Western women might age like milk, but at least we don't poison our own sons. Derek reached for my arm, but I pulled away sharply. I looked at Maylin and told her in Mandarin that she could have him and his scheming family. His grandmother grabbed the wall for support and his mother's gift bag slipped from her fingers. I walked out the front door and heard the crash of something ceramic breaking behind me. My car keys jingled in my hand as I crossed the driveway. I never looked back once.